Welcome into the Armchair Illini podcast, and we have a final from Champaign, Illinois 81. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, guns down, 77. The Illini win this game, and as always, perfect time to celebrate, perfect place to celebrate the big Illini win. Hamilton Walker's Seafood and Spirits, hands down the best dining experience in Champaign-Urbana. We're talking prime steaks, fresh seafood, and a vibe that's perfect after a big Illini win such as tonight. And here's a game changer. Every single home game, basketball and football, we're giving away a $100 Hamilton Walker's gift card on our social media. That's right, Dinner on Armchair Illini and Hamilton Walker. All you got to do is follow both of us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to get in on the action and experience Hamilton Walkers, where Champaign-Urbana comes to celebrate. This is the Armchair Illini podcast, and we are live here after that Texas Tech loss to the Illini, and we have Robby Nardini, our Armchair Illini basketball expert, to come join us. And what is the first impression of a massive win like that over another top 15 team in the country?
Thanks for having me on, Austin. Always great hopping on with you. I'm pumped up after that win. Great non-conference ranked win at home. So I'm feeling great. I know it's been a while since the Illini have gotten it done at home against a ranked team. So it was good to see. And no Tommy Ivisic, no Petrovic. This team isn't even at full health, and we just beat one of the best teams in the country. So there's a lot to be excited about.
I mean, Toppin got what he wanted to get in this game. He had 35 points, 17 for 25, 11 rebounds. What a performance by Toppin. But the Illini held everybody else in check. The Illini were able to do things defensively that I was a little shocked about. I thought about the physicality. I thought about the athleticism that the Illini may have lacked, but they proved me wrong in this game, where their depth and their fundamentals on defense are almost enough to even beat a top 10 team in the country. I mean, that is great. And then the offense of the Illini, that's something else. That's a whole separate conversation. But I was so excited about the defense of this Illini team, even with Toppin going off.
Yeah, I really thought Texas Tech would at least be in the 80s. You know, they almost got to 80, but held them to 77. They didn't shoot very well from the three-point line either. We knew that Toppin was going to go off. He's one of the best players in the country. I was getting a little mad when he was scoring every possession in the second half, but I think we adjusted well, threw some different bodies at him, like Kylan Boswell. He did a great job fronting him and not letting him catch the ball. And then towards the end of the game, as soon as he put it on the floor, we had guys coming, and that caused some turnovers. So just having that ability to throw different looks and have that versatility on defense really went a long way.
Yeah, you look at this team with the turnovers. They're both 13 for Texas Tech, 13 for the Illini. But here is the stat that kind of defined the game for me. 29 points off turnovers for the Illini and 16 points off turnovers for Texas Tech. So when the Illini forced a turnover, the Illini were scoring on that possession. I think up until maybe a certain point, the Illini were perfect on points off turnovers. That proves to me that this team offensively is just so in sync, in transition, and this is a team that you don't want to make a mistake against, because Illinois will make you pay.
Yeah, it's nice to get some buckets in transition and just off turnovers. I know last year and, pretty much every year recently, we haven't got a lot of steals or, any turnovers. So if you're losing the turnover battle by a large margin, you got to win the margin somewhere else. And, today we were able to score in transition and do enough offensively. It was great to see.
I mean, this team offensively as well. 11 points for David Merkovic. You had 22 points for Kylan Boswell, 11 points for Keaton Wagler. You had 11 points from Big Z himself, 23 from Andrej Stojakovic. This is such a balanced attack for an Illini bunch. This isn't going to be led by any one individual. It's going to be led by a unit. And it's been a long time, maybe since like 2000, 2001, those Illini teams where it was death by group effort instead of like one star player. And I mean, if you stop one guy, somebody else is going to beat you. And that's very awesome to be a part of and to see from an Illini bunch. And Brad Underwood did a heck of a job recruiting this cohesive bunch.
Yeah, you saw it with Texas Tech tonight. JT Toppin got his, but as soon as we forced a couple turnovers, slowed him down even just slightly a bit. Anderson didn't get going, and they weren't able to get the win. So, to make a run in March, you got to have multiple guys that can score, multiple guys that can, get to the rim, score at three levels. So, if you look at Florida last year, if you even look at the Illinois team that went to the Elite Eight, they had Shannon, they had Domask. You got to have a couple options if you want to win games night to night. And Illinois has, they could have a Kylan Boswell night, they could have a Stojakovic night. When Tommy's back, he can have a night, and plus you have great role players like Merkovich and Wagler. So, the offense is great. They scored 81 points. I'm sure, they'll get in the 90s and the hundreds again this year.
So this is the Armchair Illini podcast. This is our first live reaction of the year. Like, share, and subscribe at Armchair Illini and follow us on our social media platforms and comment your thoughts on this game. Alex already did that of Armchair Illini. He said, "I love you, Austin." Thank you, Alex. I love you too. And then, of course, Chief Oski said ILL. But yeah, Alex Chi, pardon me, of Armchair Illini. Coming in and commenting. Thank you to those guys. But Robby, what impressed you the most of this performance by the Illini?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned it before we went live here. I was getting a little nervous, up 13.5, kind of, letting the game slip in the second half. JT Toppin was getting anything he wants, and he's a great player. So I expected him to get going and expected him to be very difficult to stop. But I like the resilience of this team. Even when they went down one and they blew the lead, they were able to come back and win the game. The defense made some adjustments, were able to, throw some different bodies at Toppin, like I said. And I was impressed that we kind of adjusted on defense and kind of buckled down to get the win. I think last year's team, they had a bunch of talent, but, I don't think last year's team would have had the grit or the resilience to really get this win that we got tonight.
I think the maturity factor plays a big role too, where last year I know there were some older freshmen in Kasparis Yakachonis. Will Riley was extremely young, but this year's team has that maturity level that you just love. I mean, Kylan Boswell was guarding Toppin and staying out of foul trouble, still was scoring, still was doing all the little things right. I mean, that was such a veteran savvy move on the foul on the 3-point shot to kind of just initiate that contact and really put the ref in a tough position. I thought that was an awesome play. And then just his passing was just awesome. And you look at Zvonimir. He's been here before. He's been in Arkansas. He's seen some of the battles in the SEC. This team just has this maturity, and I'm going to compare the Chicago Bulls to the Fighting Illini real quick, and I don't want it to be a negative, but you've seen in the last few games by the Chicago Bulls that even with that group effort and not having that star, that it's kind of bit them in the butt at the end of games. And with this Illini team, when Toppin was going off, when you saw the run happening, you were like, uh-oh, is the star power not going to be there for the Illini? And Andrej Stojakovic really showed up to play with those and ones, that continuation. I mean, he's one of the best finishers. I know this is only game number one of the best finishers probably of the Brad Underwood era. I mean, you have Terrence Shannon and Io DeSumo kind of in a league of their own, but as for everybody else, I think Andrej might have that wrapped up of that second tier of finishers in the Brad Underwood era. And he's exciting to watch. He's electric, and he, again, a mature player that does all the little things right. Played on the West Coast, played in the ACC last year, just knows what to do and when to do it.
Yeah, and going back to that Boswell play on that 3-pointer, I think we were in a bind at that point of the game, and I think that was one of the biggest plays of the game. I forget what minute it was at, but we were struggling to score. Toppin was scoring at will, and you have a leader like Kylan to be able to get to the free throw line, knock down some free throws, kind of settle some people down. I think that went a long way. And yeah, I mean, Andre had himself a day. I knew he would be amazing when he came to Illinois. Took him a game to get used to things, and obviously he came off the bench tonight. I don't think he's going to be coming off the bench anymore after his performance tonight. And it's nice to have someone that can drive to the rim and score in traffic. Not to compare, everything to last year, but I think at times, you just needed someone to go to the rim and get to the free throw line or go to the rim and get a bucket. So, having someone like Andre, especially an upperclassman, you have Andre and Kylan and those guys to really lean on. And that was the difference tonight.
One of the things that I love to see in these big time wins by the Illini, think like Oregon last year, is was there something that's an anomaly? Was there something that's like, man, this isn't going to stick around. This can't be a consistent thing. And I look at this game, you were 6 for 20, 7 for 22 from the beyond the 3-point line. Texas Tech was 6 for 22. Offensive rebounds, something that Illinois did really well last year, but whenever that turned off, then Illinois couldn't buy a bucket. There was only 11 offensive rebounds by the Illini, and that led to 14 second chance points. This
Mm-hmm.
was a complete effort. This was a effort that is repeatable. And I think that's the best thing about this win is not only that they won, is that a lot of these things that they did are very consistent effort kind of things. And I'm very excited about that aspect of this win.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 3-point percentage, 31.8%, not great, but honestly, if they could sit around, 32 to 35, I think that'll be a good mark for them. And I think we had 0 threes in the second half. So we talked about, Illinois having different players being able to step up and win games. That
Oh, for 7 in the
Yeah,
second half.
yeah, exactly. So you can say that for the team too. We have, even if we're not making threes, looks like we can win games as well. So having that versatility as a team goes a long way.
And you look at this rebounding effort. Illinois only out rebounded Texas Tech by 4, and or I'm pretty happy that they out rebounded them by 4 with the athleticism that Texas Tech brought, that physicality that they had. I know that having a 7'2" Big Z helps out a lot with the rebounding effort, but this team just is so mature in all that they do, and I think this team can beat anybody on their best day. That's the best part about this Illini team is that it doesn't feel like anything is crazy. It's just all right. We're down by 1. We'll just do what we need to do. We'll get
Mhm.
that 3-point foul. We'll get that extra rebound. We'll get that second chance point. We're gonna do that. We're gonna be fine. Last year's team just did not have this maturity, and I think Brad Underwood, he loves to overcorrect on things sometimes from year to year, whether it be, oh wow, we lost a booty ball, now we're going to be a booty ball team. I think last year, after the lack of maturity that he had, I think bringing in some of these European guys to push Kylan Boswell in practice, to push Andrej Stojakovic in practice, I think
Mhm.
that's paying off in strides right now. Is this still early in the season? Absolutely. I know I'm speaking in some major large vision things, but I think this team has a certain swagger and maturity about them that they're going to be a tough out every single game.
Yep. Yeah, at their best, they could beat anyone. I'm interested to see, as we approach different, games throughout the conference play and even, Colgate on Friday. It's kind of a trap game into Alabama. We got to see them show up even on their, lower key of games when they're not playing top tier talent. And in the Big Ten play, you got to be consistent. So I'm excited to see that. And you talked about rebounds. I wanted to touch on one of the veterans. Being at a school 2 years in college basketball, now as a veteran. So I'm calling Ben Rickhouse a veteran for the Illini, and he had 6 rebounds. Keaton Wagler had 7 rebounds. It was a team effort on that end. And I think, keys to the game is always rebounding. You'll hear that from Brad Underwood every single day. And winning the rebound battle is not really negotiable in his program. So happy we're able to do that.
Yeah, Ben Hummerkaus is one guy that I did want to touch on. He had a very quietly good game. Having those rebounds, those 6 rebounds, no turnovers. Did he shoot the ball really well? No. But I think we're kind of seeing that evolution of the Ben Hummerkaus role this year of he's going to do the small things. Defensively, I thought he was pretty good. He wasn't the lapse that he was last year where you're like, "Oh no, they're picking on Ben Hummerkaus right now." It felt like the added strength that he's added in the offseason has just propelled him into another level where he's not that easy pickings kind of guy like he was last year. So
Mm-hmm.
the evolution of Ben Hummerkaus will the scoring happen in big games? I think one of them or two of them, but just being that guy that plays his role pretty well, I think that's going to lead the Illini into a really good space.
Yep, this team is deep, even with injuries. We have, Jake Davis, Ben Ummerkaus coming in, playing their role. The most important thing is that they're accepting their role, coming in to make shots and rebound the basketball. And, Ben might not be as good as you might have thought with all the preseason hype a year ago, but he's definitely settling into a role and providing good value to the team now.
This is the Armchair Illini podcast, and the Armchair Illini podcast is pumped to team up with Campus Inc.'s official Illinois NIL store. Get officially licensed gear from your favorite Illini stars, Luke Altmaier, Terrence Shannon Jr., Kofi Coburn, and many more. Support your favorite athletes and rep the orange and blue. Use code Armchair Illini for 15% off today. That's Armchair Illini for 15% off today. Robby, what was your biggest probably negative about the Illini in this win? I'm not saying that it was a bad effort, obviously, phenomenal effort, but what would you like to see the Illini improve upon for the Alabama game and the Tennessee game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, the offense was great today. I think it did get, stagnant a little bit in the second half, a little bit of one-on-one, which ended up hurting us on the defensive end. So I think we, maybe towards the 10-minute mark or whenever we started to get down by one or we're losing the lead a little bit, you saw a little bit of one-on-one ball and ISO ball, which, happens in basketball nowadays. But I think just kind of sticking to the plan, trusting the process and not doing that one-on-one ball, I think that'll not only help the offense, but, on the defensive end, that'll help as well. So the offense is great, but, could always be better.
Yeah, I think the one thing was during that run that Texas Tech had was that they didn't really know who was going to be the lead dog in some of those aspects, where they were kind of trying to figure out, is it me? I'm doubting myself. Is it this guy? And then that guy was starting to doubt himself. I think that was the major factor. And I think that'll just come with time and playing together. There's a lot of newness on this roster still. So I really think that the Illini are going to gel a little bit more, and I can't wait to see what this team looks like in conference play. Even I mean, this is just game 3. This is not middle of the season. This is a team that beat a cohesive unit with Anderson and Toppin back for the Texas Tech Red Raiders from last season. Illinois only had Kylan Boswell really as a main contributor from last year's bunch in this rotation that the Illini had. So I think with more gelling and more minutes played together, and of course health. I mean, Mihailo Petrovic is going to be a part of this at some point. Tomislav obviously injured tonight, so I think health will get better, and then you got to re-gel whenever you add these pieces into the puzzle. But I mean, I think even with the lack of cohesion, I think that's almost a positive out of this negative.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought this game was going to be hard for the Illini to win. In my preseason prediction, I had Texas Tech with a win here. We don't have to repeat that in the future, but I did have that just because it is going to take some time for them to gel. And you even saw it today at sometimes with the offense sticking a little bit. But like you said, I mean, this is the first major game for the Illini. Stojakovic is was the best player on Illinois, and he's barely practiced. Tommy's out, and the chemistry is only going to build from here.
Tale of the tape, if you're just joining us, the Illini win 81-77. Field goal percentage, Texas Tech 53%, Illinois 49%. Field goals for beyond the three-point line, 6 for 22 for the Red Raiders, 7 for 22 for the Illini. Free throw percentage, 75 for the Red Raiders, 70% from the Illini. The Illini did go to the line 23 times compared to only 4 times for the Red Raiders. Great defensive effort by the Illini there. Both teams turned the ball over 13 times, 34 rebounds for the Illini, 30 for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Bench points, 7 for the Red Raiders, 26 for the Illini. And then points in the paint, JT Toppin was just incredible. 52 points in the paint for the Red Raiders, 42 for the Illini. Fast break points, the Illini didn't really get in transition much. 6 for the Illini, 4 for the Red Raiders, 5 blocks for the Illini, 7 steals for the Red Raiders, 6 steals for the Illini, and then just times led, 4 for the Illini, and then 5 lead changes, and lead time 33 minutes 24 seconds. Really almost a once that 10-0 run happened for the Illini, it was almost the Illini's game to win. And there was just that one little blip of the Texas Tech Raiders getting 1-point leads here and there, and that was really it. The Illini kind of had a start to finish lead the entire game.
Yeah, it's crazy that Texas Tech shot that well. Field goal percentage wise, 53.1%, and we were still able to win. But for the most part, Illinois handled them pretty well. The start of the game when we were down 7-0 was definitely nervous there, but we bounced back from that. And, we knew Texas Tech was going to make a run. So I'm glad we were able to adjust and make plays when we needed to make them. And we finally beat a ranked team at home, which hasn't happened in a while.
So upcoming schedule for the Illini: Colgate, as Robby mentioned, on November 14th. That's Friday. And then in Chicago on Wednesday, November 19th, against another top team, and that's the Alabama Crimson Tide. What are you looking forward to for this game against Alabama? What are the big challenges that the Illini need to take on? I know we have Colgate, that trap game, but what's the Alabama initial scouting report in Robby Nardini's eyes?
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. I'll be in attendance at the United Center. It's great to have the United Center game back for Illini fans. I was actually at the last one, not including the Big Ten tournament, where there was about 4 people against Ohio State. So it's glad to have a big-time opponent coming in. And Alabama's got some of the best guards in the country. LeBaron Philon had a day against St. John's, and they just went on the road at Madison Square Garden and beat a highly ranked St. John's team. So it'll be a great matchup. I'm excited for all the points that's going to happen in this game. I think it could be 200 points in this game, not much defense being played. And a lot of threes will be up. Both Nate Oates and Brand Underwood kind of have a similar shot chart. It'll be a lot of dunks and a lot of threes. So, if you're into the new analytical basketball, you're excited for this game.
Couple of comments for you, Robby. I want you to answer. Play of the game, definitely the block at the end. What was your play of the game, Robby?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it. Probably not a play of the game by most people, but I think Kylan's, shot fake and 3 free throws really calmed everyone down, got us some points. We were kind of struggling to score there. But obviously a bunch of plays by Andrej towards the end of the game. Just, he had a jab step pull up to go up 4 or 6, I think, towards the end of the game. And obviously that block too sealed the deal. So a lot of plays to choose from Andrej, but I think a lower key play by Kylan really set the tone late in the game.
I think my play of the game, very underrated. It was in the first half, and it was by Big Z when he grabbed his own rebound, pulled it back out, and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to drive back in. And that was just an unbelievable play. It showed the athleticism that somebody 7'2" has. And then a couple of possessions later, I believe he pops a 3-pointer from the top of the key. I mean, the
shot fake side step. I was going to say that was a great one. At 7'2", he had a shot fake side step, pull up 3. So that was crazy to see from a 7-footer.
Big Z looks like a completely different Big Z than we saw in that Arkansas game against the Illini last year. He seems like a player that's playing with extreme confidence. Like last year, he was getting blocked by his brother. He was very, very timid. This year, he's almost really aggressive or almost overly aggressive. And you almost want that from a guy with that much skill compared to being timid and being scared. I think Big Z is playing with his hair on fire, and that is the best version of Big Z. And I can't wait until Tomislav gets back and those two can both play with their hair on fire. I mean, that combination right there is going to be so much fun in the limited minutes that we'll get of that, because I think there is some defensive woes there just based on athleticism that you may want to mask a little bit, but that is so much fun having those two. And Big Z was unbelievable tonight, especially in that first half of kind of clearing that run, because Texas Tech was leading 9-0 in the early stages of the game. Federer Stinks 95. He must be a Rafael Nadal fan. Says also thoughts on the flagrant.
Yeah, that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen, I think. I just don't see how that's a flagrant in any way, shape, or form, especially at the end of the game. The refs easily could have decided that game. If Texas Tech comes down and makes a three and they win the game, the refs 100% decide that game. You know, if it's going to be within the last minute of the game or even the last 30 seconds, whatever it is, you know, it better be a real flagrant foul, something to the head, you know, something to the lower body. I mean, they knew we were following. We had fouls to give. It made no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, as a former ref, I really tried to let the players decide things. I really tried to allow the action to speak for itself. And with a flagrant foul, I really needed to see that there was no effort toward the ball. I really need to see that there was uh, meant for physical harm for that to be a flagrant foul. And in this case, it was not. It was a common foul. That's really it. I mean, to try to let your whistle be the judgment of a game, that's not the way that you need to referee a game. So I'm glad that it didn't impact the game, and that I'm glad that the athletes on the court decided this game in that 81-77 victory. Let's talk about Keaton Wagler for a little bit. I mean, he was the Kansas man of mystery, like I said in our preseason preview show, and he is showing out. He is a guy that doesn't act like a freshman. You have all these mature players around him. You have Mihailo Petrovic, who is a 22-year-old sophomore. You have David playing professional basketball in Montenegro, and Keaton is from small town Kansas and is one of the leading athletes on this team. He plays with such a maturity level, and he has those jab steps. He has those moves that you're like, how does a guy like that know this? Like, he's not supposed to be doing this. Like, he's not supposed to be going to a national player of the year and going up for a layup and just nailing it like nobody's business. Like, this guy is just insane.
Yeah, he played 35 minutes tonight out of the 40, which is crazy because he was the 150th ranked recruit in the 2026 class on 247 Sports. So, you know, going into the season, I thought maybe he'd play a little bit. I think everyone kind of agreed there, and then they started talking about him as the next coming of Ayo Sumo. So, kind of had to start thinking about his game and what he was going to provide to this team. And he played 35 minutes, had 11 points, 7 rebounds. He came up with some big rebounds at the end of the game that we needed. And yeah, he just plays so smooth, doesn't need to have the ball in his hands all the time, can play point guard if he needs to, and he just doesn't get rattled. It looks like he even made some big-time free throws at the end of the game. I know I was watching with some friends, and I was like, all right, freshman on the line, we'll see if he knocks down free throws. And cool, calm, and collective, he plays beyond his years.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the plus minus of this game. David Merkovic, 88 plus 8. Kylan Boswell plus 6, 2 for Jake Davis. Keaton Wagler, I don't know why he was at a -5. That's where the plus minus can get a little fluky. 7 for Big Z, 7 for Andrej Stojakovic, -5 for Ben Hummerkaus, and that was the effort by this team. So the guys that you expected to produce produced. So that is the huge positive of this game.
Yeah, I'm so pumped up. We beat Texas Tech going into Alabama. 3-0, going to be top 10 in the country, hopefully. You know, there's just so much to be excited about. I'm just so excited we defended home court. So excited we beat a good team like that. And there's so much to be excited about. I can't say it enough.
Should we reveal tonight's player of the game? All right, let's do it. Here's today's player of the game. It is Andrej Stojakovic. Andrej, 23 points, 11 for 16 from the field, and he also secured 3 rebounds in this game, 3 steals, 2 blocks, just Mr. Everything. Only had 1 turnover, no personal fouls. We talked about that mystery wing in the offseason for way too long, and I am so happy that it was Andrej Stojakovic.
He is such a good player. I mean, to think that he hasn't played much basketball over the last couple months with a knee injury is crazy. He shot 68.8% from the field. I mean, people had some concerns coming from Cal, just kind of shooting all the time, averaging 17 points per game. If he could be more, efficient, shoot better from the field, and kind of play on a good team. And I think he's proven that tonight. I mean, he was the go-to guy at the end of the game. There's a reason why he was a 17 points per game and a player at Cal and a former McDonald's All-American. So I'm excited he's back. He sounds like he's getting back in condition, and he'll only get better from here.
I think my favorite thing about this Andrej Stojakovic game was the fact that he looked like he's been in an Illini uniform the last 3 years, and he just knew where to be, when to be there, who to pass it to, and when to shoot himself. Like, he picked his spots extremely well, when to drive in, and he just looks like he's been in Champaign and is like, oh yeah, this is what we do. This is where I can thrive. This is where I can get Kylan to thrive. This is where I'll pass it to David. This is where I'll pass it to Big Z. It was insanely awesome to see how mature of a player that he can be, and the arrow's only pointing up. This was game 3 against the number 11 team in the country. I mean, Andre's just bringing that maturity to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and game 2 for him, so even better. And I think we should touch on that. He was pretty good defensively as well. We're not given enough credit for that. He was guarding Anderson at some times. He was a great player. Anderson is averaging 26 points per game in the first 2 games. So obviously having a couple blocks, being where he needs to be defensively, I think he's a better defender than most people think.
And 0 fouls. I mean, that is a tough ask against a number 11 team in the country to not commit a single foul in the assignment that you drew. I mean, kudos to Andrej and kudos to Brad Underwood for, I mean, we haven't talked about the coaching staff at all. Brad Underwood had his team prepared. Brad Underwood had his team ready for the challenge, and he kind of let his athletes thrive in the right moments. And I think this might be one of Brad Underwood's best coach games, just because of all the injuries, of the lack of glue that this team has. I mean, there's obviously all those Michigan games in the past that Brad Underwood ran circles around Juwan Howard, but I truly think this is one of the best coach games that Brad Underwood's had, especially in the non-conference slate where Brad's kind of struggled in the past.
Yeah, it was a great game for the staff and Underwood especially. We mentioned it before. We withstand their run and ended up winning the game. So that was a really good team. They're a veteran team as well, and the staff did a good job game planning in the first half. I think on top, and we did a pretty good job digging on the post and kind of letting other guys beat us. They didn't shoot great from the 3-point line. We kind of got away from that in the second half, but you saw the staff kind of go back to the double team and make some adjustments, on the defensive end. So kudos to them and kudos for, getting all these guys to Illinois, Wagler, Merkovich, kudos to their evaluations for these players. And then I definitely, like you said, enjoy letting the athletes decide the game, especially early in the season. Let them, work it out together and obviously guide them through that. And I'm happy with their performance and super happy with what we did as a staff and as a team.
So far, so good for Tyler Underwood, the offensive coordinator, and also Cameron Crocker, the defensive coordinator. So good first steps for them. Great passing of this first test for them as well against the number 11 team in the country. I think we're going to wrap it up here. We've gone on for about 35 minutes, and I appreciate all of you guys for joining us on this Armchair Illini live post game. Illinois wins 81-77. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe this video. If you liked what you saw tonight, thank you for making us part of your night after this Illini victory. And again, support our sponsors, Hamilton Walkers, of course, and the Campus Inc.'s official Illinois NIL store, and that's Armchair Illini for 15% off today. Thank you for Robby for joining us, and hopefully we can do this again. This was fun, and talking about more Illini losses and Illini wins. It'll be a great time to really dig into this Illini basketball program that is clearly in the right spot that they need to be in. So, Robby, thank you. And what you got cooking for Armchair Illini after this game?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Austin. I know we got a couple commitments coming up, potential commitments for Illinois coming up here. I wrote some articles on the recruits earlier this week, and I got Film Room Fridays coming on Friday as well. I'll get you guys a little Colgate preview. I know it's not as big of a game as Texas Tech, but Colgate's a good team. Definitely read the game preview and what to expect. And as usual, the newsletter every Monday morning. So follow me on Twitter at Robby Nardini, and definitely be on the lookout for the armchair articles.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look forward to in March seeing Colgate win that 14-3 matchup, and we're going to be like, well, we knew that. Robby said that Colgate was going to be really good, so this shouldn't be a surprise. So go ahead and put them in your March Madness brackets for sure. Robby, thank you again for joining me, and thank you all to the listeners and the viewers of this live stream. We'll hope to do this again soon. This is the Armchair Illini Podcast, ILL, I and I.